Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Brickey here. Today's adventure, we're going to look at the announcement of the closing of Mickey and the Magical Map and look at the future of the Fantasyland Theater. We're going to take some bad news and try to be positive about what it could mean for the future. Mickey and the Magical Map debuted on May 25th, 2013. This 25-minute musical, which casts Mickey Mouse in his classic role of the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia, features songs from a half a dozen Disney animated films. On October 9th, 2020, it was announced that it would not be returning, that the show had gone dark. And I don't think that this was a big surprise that the cast got an email like, hey, we're not bringing you back. It's a little unclear, will Mickey and its Magical Map return, or is it gone forever? But it is clear that these cast members, these performers, are not getting called back to work because there's no foreseeable future where they would need them in their services. You see, the problem with doing a live show during a pandemic is the proximity of the cast members who are all performing together. And this show is a fun 25 minutes. It goes through so many different scenes, so many dance numbers. It's a lot of cast members constantly being far less than 6 feet from one another, singing and dancing. It's, all the things that COVID loves to spread. So a show with a cast of this size would require constant testing of the cast members. And due to the new regulations, you would be allowed to only do a very small amount of performances when the park is allowed to reopen each day. So to have a staff around and not be able to literally work them to the schedule that Disney needs to make this show feel efficient, it's just, hey, what are we doing here? And even though this show does happen outdoors at the Fantasyland Theater, holding an audience for a 25-minute show where many people would show up 5 to 20 minutes early to get a seat for the show goes against the new theme park protocol of keeping people at all times spread out. Even with blocking out seats, you would just have a mass of people gathering, and that's just not what we're going for these days. Also, with the parks being dead broke when they reopen, they want to keep people moving, not only for public health, but moving people are spending people. So having folks sit around for 40 minutes from waiting to showtime to getting up and leaving, it just kind of goes against keep people moving, keep the crowds flowing, and keep people spending money. So the Fantasyland Theater was originally created for Videopolis, which took place from 1985 to 1995. Back in February, they brought it back to life for 80s night, and let me tell you, friends, it was a Disneyland dream come true to get to see what Videopolis looked like, what it felt like. It was so much fun to be there. Can't believe that was this year. What a year. But in 1995, it changed over from the Videopolis Theater to the Fantasyland Theater. And what I'd like to do now is get past the point where, hey, obviously everybody here feels sorry for those performers that have been asked not to return. And everybody hates one less thing happen at Disneyland. But let's look at this plot of land. Let's try to be positive. Let's use the imagination of Disney to say the Fantasyland Theater is a very, very valuable piece of property. And I'm not talking intellectual property, I'm talking property, real estate, the ground that it sits upon. This is a very interesting plot of land because it's adjacent to 3 major lands. I'll give you 3 different theories of how this land could be used if they decided that an outdoor stage area is just not what they need. Let's say that they wanted to expand the footprint in the future of Toontown. If you were to take Gadget's Go Coaster, remove that 30-second ride for youngins, make that a front facade, easily if they wanted to take guests over the railroad tracks or under the Disneyland Railroad, they could move them into the Fantasyland Theater. It could be a huge building for a dark ride, and guests would just know, hey, we're in Toontown, we're going in this facade, and we don't know where we're going. Oh, the magic of Disney. But if it were to be used for an open air attraction or a dark ride, it does sit inside of Fantasyland, the second best option for how this could be used. And Toontown would be my third option. I'm working my way up to the best, Casey Kasem style. Number 1. If Fantasyland were to use this property, it would make sense. It sits wedged between It's a Small World and the Storybook Canals, Casey Jr. You could easily do an outdoor ride or a mixture of indoor-outdoor attraction if it were to stay part of Fantasyland. But my favorite idea for this property, and hear me out, let's use some imagination. Disneyland won't always be closed. The parks won't always be broke. Financial analysts are predicting that 2025, the parks will come back even stronger than their numbers were in 2019. Let's just pretend for a moment that you're standing in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and you go up to Docking Bay 9, which is over in the First Order section of Batuu. If you were to go through this gate, cruise down a Indiana Jones style hallway, you could get yourself to a pre-show room. Then once again, either go above or below the Disneyland Railroad and go into an amazing attraction that would sit where the Fantasyland Theater sits now. That would be where the show building would sit for this attraction. Now, what I like most about this is we already have Smuggler's Run, which sits in the middle of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which the middle tier of Batuu is the Black Spire Outpost. That's sort of the citizens region, and Smuggler's Run doesn't really go to one way or the other of the politics. But if we go to the far side of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, we have an attraction very much themed around the Resistance, thus Rise of the Resistance. But what I love about putting an attraction on this side of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and what I love about it being a dark ride, is this would be a First Order themed attraction. And Disney does so great with heroes and heroines telling all these stories about amazing people that overcome obstacles to be heroes. But they also really excel on making fantastic villains. What this attraction would be, right now, I have no idea. I just know that it would be possible, with a little bit of imagination, to go from Docking Bay 9 on this fantastic journey and to come back out and never really realize that the whole time you were hanging out in Fantasyland. Look, the parks are beyond broke. What I'm talking about is nothing that's going to happen tomorrow. But as I said earlier, analysts believe the park will return full force in 2025 and bigger than it was in 2019, with all the pent-up consumer aggression and people just happy to get back to living a life that feels normal. And there will always be a need to bring in bigger and badder attractions, to bring new people to the resort and to bring back old guests that haven't been there for a while. In the interim, a small show could still exist on the Fantasyland stage. Who knows? Mickey and the Magical Map could return as a placeholder to keep using this plot of land, but ultimately, one day, this piece of property will be looked at as so much more valuable than a daytime show. This piece of property is one of the last few things that wouldn't be so crazy to tear down that's inside the berm, still inside of Disneyland. Well, other than Tomorrowland. Give me a shovel and I'll start taking that out today. Hey friends, let me know what you think. What would you like to see show up in the Fantasyland Theater? Would you like to get it converted into an attraction for Toontown, something for Fantasyland or Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? Or are you on the other side? Hey, Brickey, the kids need a place to go. They need to see a show. And to that I say, bring back Videopolis. What would your dream scenario be for this valuable piece of land embedded inside of Disneyland? Would love to know how you see this being used. And if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. It helps me grow the channel and I could use your help. Friends, until the next time I see you in Disneyland, I'll see you back here on the channel with more Disneyland news.